This Tanach video is part of a series of Tanach videos by our Beit Midrash, sponsored by Nathan Kirsch, in loving memory of his parents, Rachel bat Mordechai Zichrono Livracha and Yehuda Pesach ben Naftali Kohen Zichrono Livracha. These Tanach videos are building towards our program on Sunday, December 24th, Tanach in a Day, with classes on each book of Tanach, running, as it sounds, all day long. I'd like to begin by talking about Sefer Yehoshua, the book of Joshua. It is the first book of the prophets. It begins after Moshe's death, Moshe having passed away at the end of the Chumash. The Jews are still not in the land of Canaan, which will become Israel. The Jews are on the other side of the Yarden, of the Jordan River. Yehoshua takes over. Hashem charges him with bringing the Jews into Eretz Yisrael. Yehoshua leads the Jews across the Yarden, across the Jordan, and they take their first steps in the land. They bring the Karban Pesach, they eat from the produce of the land. We have our initial battles, including with the city of Yericho, of Jericho, and with numerous tribes who then come to attack. The central chapters of the book describe the division of the land among the tribes, and the book concludes with the tribes of Reuven, Gad, and part of Menashe heading east across the Yarden, going back to the land that they had requested, that is actually on the eastern side of the Jordan. And Yehoshua's closing addresses to the nation, the death of Yehoshua, the death of most of the leaders of that generation. Yehoshua is credited with writing most of the book, except for the parts that involve his death and the aftermath at the end, and that's written by his colleagues who outlived him. All told, the book occupies 28 years of Jewish history. The messages of the book are several. One of them, the Gemara in Nidarim on Daf Chav Beis, page 22b, says that Yehoshua is really the only necessary book of the prophets. You could have had just Chumash and then Yehoshua. Why is this book important? Because it includes the erech, the value of the land of Israel, the distribution of the land, the miracles Hashem performed in order for us to get the land, and really, had we not sinned with the Egel, with the golden calf, we could have just had Chumash and Yehoshua, and that would have been that, and Tanach in a Day would have been a very brief program. In terms of other messages, it teaches us how the Jews become a nation of the land, the transition from life in the Midbar, in the wilderness, gaining arevut, joint responsibility for each other, the wars we fought, ceasing to view ourselves as slaves of Egyptians who had escaped, from the Egyptians, but instead seeing ourselves as people returning to our own land. We learn about Yehoshua's leadership, how it represents a continuity of Moshe's leadership, with the presence of God supporting the leader and providing miracles on our behalf from time to time, and the idea that God is behind our leaders, but God doesn't insulate them from mistakes. Another theme, the warnings that Moshe gave the Jews before they entered the land. We start to see some of them becoming true in the course of Sefer Yehoshua, and the warnings are reiterated by Yehoshua himself to the nation. The book conveys these messages largely through stories. I'll give you one example. Before the Jews fight their war with Yericho, Yehoshua declares that the spoils are to be consecrated. No one is supposed to take from the spoils for a variety of reasons that we may discuss in a Tanach in a Day class on the book of Yehoshua. But he says no one is to take from these spoils. We find out after the war that a man by the name of Achan ben Carmi actually did take from the spoils, and the result of it is that when the Jews fight their next battle against a relatively small city called Ai, they lose. They're routed in this war, and there are casualties. And that story is meant to convey the model of collective responsibility, the idea that we are all responsible for each other's actions. It also teaches us that Hashem being with us as he was with Moshe includes accountability for our wrongdoing. It isn't all lollipops. Hashem is going to hold us accountable. It also teaches us that the future that we have in the land depends on our relationship with God. All this and more I hope to discuss on December 24th as part of our Tanach in a Day program. In order to learn more about the program, go to www.torontotorah.com/Tanach, Tanach. Thank you very much.